Ciao Milanisti and welcome back. And I do feel like it's been a little bit of a long time since my last video, about probably like a week and a half, maybe a little bit longer than that. Apologies, I kind of quite erratic schedule right now with a new job, and I guess the timing of Milan games as well probably haven't quite helped out. And yeah, no excuses, but we're here back today to cover quite a lot of football, I guess. Most recent game was the 4-1 victory against Monza. Really good, so a few things to recap over that. I will just quickly talk about the Chelsea home game, the second game we played against Chelsea in San Siro. Obviously massively disappointed with the refereeing decisions in that game. You know, I could sit here and you know, scream the houses down on how bad of a decision it was to send off Fikayo Tomori for that penalty. Ridiculous, and now just makes us, these last two games we have against Zagreb and RB Salzburg, very, very key on getting wins. You know, we could probably get a win and a draw, depending on how the rest of the games go in that group, but certainly I would like to see 2 wins to see out the rest of this group stage to get us into the knockout rounds, and it just makes that so much more impactful, much more of an influence going from that. But anyway, putting that Chelsea result aside, there was the Hellas Verona game, and it kind of, my opinions of that game kind of linger into the Monza game as well. I thought the game management was really poor. We're winning games with obviously like these moments of, you know, just good football, or just obviously taking the chances that are great. There's been a few moments, especially in that Hellas game, where we should have been 2-0 up quite early on into it and sort of killed the game off, not allowing them to come back into it with confidence and motivation as they build that momentum up, but they did, and then sort of getting that Tonali winner quite late on, around the 80th minute, was key to get the victory. And don't get me wrong, I know not every game is a walk in the park, especially for teams that have just hired a new coach or battling relegation, but certainly feel like if there's one step to our evolution, would be certainly like just dominating games a bit more, controlling games against these weaker sides much more, and being much more clinical against them. And you know, all that being said, I think we'll go into this Monza game review and recap. And I guess the sort of one of the biggest things is my takeaway is like how we're controlling games. I've not been the most impressed with. And I will say, I think a lot of it does come down to the fixture schedule being very condensed, and it's very hard to play at 100% for 90 minutes when you've got to play another game in 3 days time. You know, Pioli's alluded to the fact that we're playing, was it 7 games in 22 days? This recent calendar, the block of games that we're seeing right now, you know, it's a hell of an amount of games. There's a hell amount of you know, exertion we're requiring on our players, especially when there's certain ones that are injured. You know, Maignan, Florenzi, Ibrahimovic, Salamakers, Macias is just coming back from injury, Tecatlara, Simon Kjaer. So yeah, I mean, I understand from that perspective, but I just do feel like we're not cleanly managing these games as much as, you know, as well as I think we should and we could. So, and I think a lot of that does come down to, and I think we can all probably agree on this sort of disjointed look between defence and midfield. And I saw it quite a few times, probably a few too many times against Monza, where our defence looked like we're just kind of like chasing shadows, we run ragged, not the quickest to the markers when they should really be, but also comes down to where the midfielders in the sort of the whole setup. You know, the midfielders get stretched. So I'm talking about the pivot DMs like Bennacer, Pobega or Tonali. They get stretched, and all of a sudden the defenders get stretched. And where we were probably being quite victorious of getting the ball from the press, we're not always getting, like, that's not always working out now. And you know, we're having to see some, you know, last-ditch saves from Tatarusanu, which even saying that, it sounds a bit weird, but I don't know, I just feel like we can manage games a lot more better, especially defensively. I can't even remember the last time we had a clean sheet. And I think that's certainly where I feel like we can be making some improvements. But with that being said, you know, about 4 minutes into this video, not all doom and gloom. I will recap on a few good things, especially in attack. And coming away from a 4-1 victory is not something I want to sort of do this video with a lot of negativity. There's a lot of positives to take away from it. And the first one we will look at is Brahim Diaz. And you know, an exceptional goal against Juventus. And I think the worry that we had with Diaz was, you know, can he consistently play at this level? Because we saw it last season. He had 4 goals and I think around 3 assists quite early on into the campaign, all by the point of like maybe mid-October. And here we are, sort of around late October, and Diaz is on 4 goals, and I'm not sure how many assists he got, but he's certainly upping his level of performance, and a lot of it can be said to rotational options now being at the club in Digetlare and Yassi Nadli being there as waiting for him to have a bad game, that they will be there ready to go. But Diaz, fair play and credit to him, he has stepped up. The goal against Juventus was exceptional, but now we had another one to probably add to the record book, which was his first goal against Monza. The way he just drove into the midfield, collected the ball, you know, immaculately from the Tatarusamu goal kick, which is there's also another thing as well. Just I'll stick with Diaz, but a side thing about Tata, and he gets a lot of bad stick. I know he's not the best of keepers, but he's low key a very good passer, and I said this a couple of weeks ago, and you know, he chips the ball quite well. He's not all doom and gloom when I see Tata in goal. It's just sometimes a bit worried about his collection from set pieces, etc. But anyway, back to Diaz. He gets the ball really well from the goal kick and just drives. He drives at the midfield. He drives at the defenders. And it's so simple, but sometimes I think when you overthink it, like he could have put the ball out to Rebic at the left wing, and maybe there's a bit of that safe option to do that, but he didn't. He continued to drive, and luck kind of fell its way, and he got that little touch on his left foot, and it kind of rolls into the bottom right corner, which is exactly what you need to do as a striker. And I think that just adds to his confidence, because you're trying things you don't naturally were doing, and it's working out. So then when his goal comes later on into the first half, the second goal, you know, great from Origi, really slowing down the tempo of the move because he saw no one was really up there to help him. Spots Diaz, puts the ball through to him, and Diaz has a great, once again, simplicity sometimes is just so key. One touch, gets it past, gets it to his stronger foot. The turn's great because he knows he's got the beat on acceleration to the marker, and just drills the shot in the bottom left. You know, something he's working to his strengths, ball control, small, you know, low centre of gravity, decent right foot shot. Continue to work to your strengths, and I think we'll continue to see great performances from Brahim Diaz. The only issue is that he came off injured, so I'm hearing rumours and news that it's not too much of a serious injury. It's a bit annoying going into the Zagreb game with him in this hot run of form that he may or may not be making that. So I've got my eyes peeled on that one. But yeah, really great start to the season for Diaz. And I think off the back of that, we'll talk about Divock Origi as well. And I think there was a lot of pressure about Origi, about, you know, is he the backup striker we were looking for? What is he really adding to this side? He has not started off really well to his Milan career, and I think it's understandable because obviously he had the injury issues. The last international break, he went to Belgium, saw a doctor to get that sorted. He's come back, there's no issues since then, and he's been building his fitness levels up. And obviously this has been his first start in a Milan shirt, and goal and assist. You know, I can't really ask much more for him. Yes, his cohesion with certain other attackers like Rebic could be better, but certainly as his limited time working with other players like Rebic and Diaz and Macias, he needs to build on that chemistry. But as an individual player, what I saw from him, I was quite impressed. And, you know, he used his body very well, strength, acceleration. He won the ball many times through pressing. The assist was pretty clean. Diaz did quite a lot of work to get that obviously onto his right foot, but his vision to spot out the easy pass was exactly what was needed. And his shot, his goal in the second half, which was great, because I don't think we have many players, I think, that can like smack that ball, can strike the ball like that, clean, powerful, kind of like an arrow. Yeah, it's kind of like Ibrahimovic-esque, you know. That's not in Giroud's locker, it's not in Leao's locker. Macias tends to go for more of the curling shots. Certainly Salamakers can't do that. Diaz can't do that from outside the box. So really good to see this sort of goals come in. Just goes to show you how much of a clean finisher Origi is. So he just needs to build off this confidence now. A goal and assist, keep one. And it's just, and then the last thing I'll say about Origi as well, with the way he presses, with that sort of burst of speed he has, it's a great contrast to have as opposed to Giroud, who's obviously much more in a slower profile, being like he's 36 years old. He offers the strength that Origi will have, but I just think Origi there with a little bit more of a burst of pace gives us that option to press better, to, you know, maybe defenders when they're playing a higher line, maybe give us that option that he can beat the last man off with a bit more space to run into. So yeah, happy with Origi. I just hope he sort of can build off this. Very similar to Diaz, he needs to just run off this momentum to go forward. We'll come on to the fixtures that we've got coming up as well. just going to talk about, obviously, no Mike Maignan until 2023. Really disappointing news. Tatarusano's not the most convincing of keepers, but just looking at these fixtures we have until the World Cup kicks off, we've got 6 more games. I'll just talk about fixtures now anyway. Zagreb away, Torino away, Salzburg at home, Spezia at home, Cremonese away, and Fiorentina at home. Look, we know certainly the next week and a half with Zagreb away, Torino away, and then Salzburg at home are the most important games in this run, and probably the most difficult. Torino probably not the most scary as they probably were last season, but still a game away from home with them is still a tough fixture. They will certainly be up for that, and it will be difficult considering the fact that that's sandwiched right between the 2 crucial Champions League games, and those are the games really where, you know, having Mike back, and I was hoping he'd be back for these games, would be just key. But so we're going to have perfect performances, I guess, in defence, and not giving away too much opportunities to players like Orsic for Zagreb, or you know, Okafor for Salzburg. So it's just, I really hope that Tata's not going to just fumble the ball in this regard and give us a reason to throw the game away. So I'm kind of not concerned, but it just adds another layer of protection that could have been there, is just no longer there in the goalkeeping spot. So a bit disappointed that Mike's out until 2023, but looking at those fixtures, I feel like we can still manage it. And I guess CDK, we need to talk a little bit about CDK. And, you know, probably my last video I did speak about it, saying like just ease up on the pressure. That same thing exists as well, that same opinion exists. You know, I think a lot of us are of this patient mindset of just let him in, slowly embed himself into this side. I do feel like the player though is having a kind of, not a self-destructive mindset issue, but he is certainly overthinking a lot of things. He probably should have gotten a goal towards the end of that Monza game when Franks puts the ball back into the box. But, you know, once again, benefit of the doubt. I don't think a goal changes things. I do feel like he needs to just like find his feet and find where he slots into this side, and that will take time. That will take also purely working that out as well, because it's not as you know, it's not just you score a goal and then everything's fixed. No, he needs to find out who he is as a player and how he fits his, you know, capabilities into this side, and that's not just him. That's down to purely the coaching staff and the players around him as well. So I will say that as much as CDK. I just think once again we just need to continue to be patient. And I feel like we'll be looking at this conversation 6 months down the line and be laughing at the you know, the early criticism that he's been receiving. But yeah, I mean, other than that, look, we've gone through the games. There's a lot of games, you know, 6 games in the next 21 days from the point of making this video. The Champions League games are huge. We need to be getting results in this one because, you know, we were all laughing at the not laughing, but we were all comfortable with the draw back in late August, saying that, you know, Chelsea's form at the time weren't great. Obviously, new coach. We've lost both of those games back to back. We started the group quite well with a draw away at Salzburg. We beat Zagreb at home. Now, really, the ball's in our court. We are still the masters of our own destiny. We have to go away to Zagreb and get a win, in my opinion, and then take the last game. You know, we might be in a situation where we can afford to still draw against Salzburg, but still, I'd like to see us win that game as well. So, I really hope to see this Milan side now evolve and not be so you know, so naive in these scenarios, and really just step up in European perspective, because I think that's once again the next step for our sort of evolution as a club. Yes, we're great in Italy, but let's continue that into Europe. And yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. Other than that, I've just been really happy with the integration with certain players like Ranks and Malik Chow, who those amazing blocks towards the end of the game against Hellas Verona. Dest is somewhat stepping up his levels, but still needs to work on his fatigue injuries or something like that. So yeah, really happy with what I'm seeing so far from a lot of the new players. I think some fans probably want to see Yassin Adli a little bit more. I agree to a certain extent, but once again, with Diaz playing how he's playing and CDK, we want to get the best out of him as well. I just think it's a question of where does he fit in, potentially a loan move out in January, I don't know. But in the meantime, I think we need to be happy with where the squad's going right now. We've got an unbeaten run in Italy since, well, a winning run since the Napoli fixture, which we probably should have drawn. Don't want to think about the Kalulu shot towards the end of the game. Yeah, so we're on the right path. So hopefully, next time I speak to you guys, it'll be a nice clean victory away at Zagreb. And until then, Forza Milan.